just the general soccer goalkeeping. This is kind of how we do things. But also, like, when you get to that next level, I feel you hold those bullet points and continually add them. And sometimes they change depending on what club you're at, or what coaches you work with. I feel like that's a big thing, but understanding how to be adaptable in environments is huge. So I feel like that's a big change, but between the college environment and the residency academy. It's two completely different environments. Here, everyone lives on campus together. They train together, eat together. In college, there's a bit more freedom. You train together, you have some team events, you travel, you have the games, but at the end of the day, they all have different classes. They have different, lives that they have outside of soccer. Some work, some do internships, some just focus on school. So it's kind of different in the environment of things as well. Of, okay, this is very concentrated in the one aspect compared to the college, where individuals are, they're adults and they're a bit more flexible of, being able to travel and being able to do different things. So I think the environment piece has a huge effect.
And I'm getting to the moments of the game thing here, which I really love the fact that this is in your whole little packet that you have right here, because this is something that I know a lot of young coaches struggle with in the youth environment when they come from the college environment, where players, again, have more experience, of reading the game and understanding possession versus out of possession. And, I know that one of the biggest problems personally, I think in the youth game is there's so much this is a tongue twister, compartmentalization of session design. So here's possession activities. Here is, out of possession activities versus the ebb and flow of the game. How can we as coaches who've been involved in higher level environments bring this to the youth game so that they grow up like this, as opposed to having to reintroduce it as they get older?
I mean, for me personally, I've always liked the aspect of, when we have a live part of the session of, okay, the ball's played in once and then it's live. It's free and active play of, whoever's not in goal really taking in the role that they're playing. Okay, are you playing a striker? Are you playing attacking mid? What's your objective when you're playing that position? To score. Okay, how am I going to do that? I have to bring the ball down. I have to, have a touch. I can pass to a teammate. I can have a shot. So for me, a big part of it is trying to be creative enough to have those players understand the other positions on the pitch, what it's like to, to possess the ball. Okay, I lost it in this 1v1. How can I recover it? So I think, it's important for players to be exposed, it's important for them to be exposed. Now you got me tongue twisting.
I mean, dude, compartmentalization is literally a tongue twister. Exposed? Yeah. I don't know, Nico. I think you've been getting too much sun in Arizona. So
probably. I got a nice tan. But
oh, you definitely, dude. I was looking at the pictures.
Yeah. But a big. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, moving into the possession play area right here. This is, I think, where a lot of coaches who've been in a college environment struggle when they go to youth players. Again, these are very, very profound concepts. It's very hard for a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old to understand this. So we need to be able to get our points across in a way that they're going to understand it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you also have to kind of be creative within the age range that you're coaching. So to bring some really complex ideas to very, first experience of goalkeeper, it's not going to be, it's not going to flow that great, I don't think. So, there are different phases of the game for players. For me, at 7, 9 years old, it's about having fun, about developing, about just playing and enjoying the game, I think is huge. From there, okay, can we learn how to train? Okay, now we're train to develop, train to compete after that, and then you're training to win at the more senior level. So that I think for a player to understand what we're trying to do with this particular possession chart, you can probably explain it to them. I would say maybe like 15 and older. I think they would start to kind of grasp it. But anything younger than that, or a player that might not have this comprehension of the game, I think it's important to, okay, how can I be creative within my session to expose them to have to make these types of actions. Okay, what can I set up? How can we make a situation of okay, playing around, and in that space I'm either going to be playing with my feet, or I'm going to be rolling the ball to the player, most likely playing through. That's far enough a distance. Okay, I can throw the ball, find a two bounce throw into a goal. How can I force a player to execute these actions without understanding? Okay, let's just go through the motion of, okay, how can I have a free flow and understand, okay, in this area, this is the type of ball I can play, this context or this texture of the ball that's played. I think is important for the younger age groups, but finding a technical foundation first and foremost. Tactical can come later on, where this falls in is the base premise.
See, I love what you just said right there, because I think that's really the key right there, is that to start getting them executing these actions, from a tactical standpoint, and then afterwards breaking down and asking them questions on, like, why was this successful? What happened right here? What did you see that made you do this? As opposed to just, hey, you got to build out a blah, 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 and this is a blah, 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 or whatever. It's the same thing as, like, if somebody's teaching, in a university and they're teaching calculus, and then they say, hey, can you sub my 4th grade math class tomorrow? You've got to present the work in a different way to get the same results. If that makes any sense.
No, for sure. And the education aspect of things just kind of sparked something in my head of math. You When you're young, you don't know how to add until you do different exercises to put the numbers together. So be creative, to put those numbers together on the field, and then you can really start teaching it later on, and like have the person understand, okay, they do it on their own.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important. If you look at it, if you go from a basic build out. And I always explain this to a lot of young players and stuff, is that, like, when they come into a new environment where maybe they're being challenged, or they're being exposed to different techniques or a different understanding of the position by an educator than they may have been in before, is that there might be some steps back from where they were in their old environment. And that's okay, because you're going to take those steps back in order to get to, you might have to go back to step A when you were at step C in order to be able to get to step F, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think that's a part of being, well-rounded as a person and as a goalkeeper of, okay, I put a lot into this area. Now the other side, the plate's a little bit unbalanced. So sometimes you have to take away to kind of balance the plate a little bit.
So let's talk about the attacking third in the youth game versus in the college game. I'll be honest with you. You're 12 years old. The attacking third, that might as well be on the moon. Like, we're like, that's going to take 7 years for the ball to come back. And that's where you start getting the hands on the hips, the kids getting disassociated with the game. And I find a lot of times at the youth level, players don't really start getting involved and activated until the ball passes the neutral third. Is that something that you've recognized too?
In general, yes. But I see it as a big opportunity of, okay, they're disengaged. Question, how can we get them engaged? So, then I put myself in, okay, when I was a player, what did I think? Okay, I'm stepping up, I'm finding, my line that I want to hold, that I want to be at. How can I be a supportive player within my own half to my teammates? If the ball is cleared, okay, can I have a touch, and then can I be a part of the attack now? But also a big part of that is communication. what information can I give in the possession moments when we have possession of, okay, how can I communicate to players? I have, one of the best views on the field. I see straight down everything in front of me. What information can I give to my teammates to help them make decisions? It's not only in the recovery moments of when we're defending, of giving, little points of communication, because then at that point, if we're in our defensive third, I can only say so much because I'm focused in on the ball. I have to react if an action is taken by the other team, compared to when we're in possession and the ball's in our attacking third. Okay, I'm a bit more relaxed. I can see more. How can I help guide my team?
It's interesting that you just said that right there in regards to the communication aspect, because I think this is something where, like, when you're working with college players, again, their outfield players have had more experience and they're a little bit more tactically savvy in the game. And like, I see this all the time. 11-year-olds, hey, did you blah, blah, blah? It's like, well, they're not listening, or like, they don't do it. They're not doing anything or whatever. So like, what advice do you give to like a young player who's like 11 years old and they're dealing with an 11-year-old out left back who's not, keeping the shape they want or the supporting play that they want, or, like how do you get them on the same page? Because I think one of the problems is when we're talking about youth development is that confidence to be able to speak to these players that are in front of them, because these are peers. And these people and these kids are still developing and they're still insecure in who they are.
No, I understand that perspective. I mean, at the senior level, it is different because everyone has their own individual personality for the most part, and it's still developing.
Welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and conditioning and goalkeeper coach here at the Keeper Institute, and your host for today's show. The Keeper Institute is a unique goalkeeper training facility in New Jersey aimed at developing better goalkeepers and better people. On this podcast, we will be discussing all things goalkeeping, character development, and more. Welcome back to another episode of the Keeper Institute podcast. The air horn has seeped its way into every part of my life, just so you know.
I need a button, just like, how Staples has that button, like the easy button, the red one. I think we need an air horn button. Yeah.
Amazon, they literally have everything. And we're not sponsored to say that, but we'll take gift cards. So whatever. All right, Jill, hit us with the topic. We're back. We're back, baby.
All right. Well, I think this is, obviously I say this every week, but I do think this is a really important one. And it's been weighing on my mind a lot recently, is like a lot of our players that we get to work with are going back to high school season. And so they're in an environment where maybe A, they don't have a goalkeeper coach, and B, maybe their head coach isn't as knowledgeable in the goalkeeper position. So it's kind of up to us, like, to navigate and quarterback our own development. So I think we wanted to share 3 ways that you can maximize your development with some support. Obviously, we're always here and we're always on your side and we always have your back, and we're always happy to take a look at your training film or ask any questions you have, but also we can't be there with you in your environment when you go to high school season or fall season or games on the weekend, whatever it might be. So how do you still continue to maximize that opportunity to develop and grow and get better kind of by yourself or within your goalkeeper training environment, right? So I'm excited to share this list, and I think this list can help anyone from ages 8 on your first day of goalkeeper training all the way to pros that do this for a living and do it every single day and are in an environment where they have supportive goalkeepers and really knowledgeable coaches. So if you're, we were just talking before the podcast, like a 2 or 3 in a professional setting, sometimes you're kind of cast to the side and your needs and your areas that you want to improve are kind of cast to the side because you are there to help the number 1 grow, and the goalkeeper coach's aim is to get the number 1 in the best frame of mind suited for the games on the weekend. So sometimes as a 2 or 3, even at the professional level, we need to take ownership of our own game. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really helpful because I think that's one of the bigger questions we get. Aside from PKs this time of year from our high school goalkeepers, everyone wants to know about PKs. I'm just waiting for the first one to ask me about it. But But yeah, they're like, well, what can I do? Or how can I help myself when maybe I don't have that same level of support I do, when I'm consistently getting a chance to come to TKI or when I have my goalkeeper coach in club. So I think this is something where you can not only take ownership of your own journey, but you can feel supported without having that direct resource.
Totally. All right, so let's get into this list. Number 1, get on the offense. Yes, I care about in possession, but get on the offense in terms of what are your deliberate goals that you want to set for the week, and how can you schedule that into your weekly schedule first before everything else. So what do I mean? If you want to work on your non-dominant foot kicking, schedule that into your plan for the week, 10 minutes, right? I'm going to get out to training 10 minutes early, and I'm going to ask Tori to do left foot instep striking with me 20 yards away. And I'm going to schedule that in for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We have a game. So I'm going to make sure on Saturday after training for 10 minutes, I'm going to stay and do that. That's my goal for the week. I'm getting on the offense. I'm putting myself first. I'm putting my development first, and I'm going to schedule that in to make sure that I do it. And that could be anything. It could be, I'm going to watch the NWSL this weekend, and I'm really interested in watching how do I protect the space behind. So I'm going to write in Utah Royals on Saturday in the NWSL schedule. I'm putting that in. I'm going to be in front of NWSL Plus or on Ion, because I actually have them this weekend at 7:30 on Ion against Kansas City.
Then everyone should be there.
It will be a good one. But I'm going to deliberately put that in my calendar so that I put that first, and that's my priority for the week, is I want to learn how to protect the space behind. So I'm going to watch that game. I'm going to watch the goalkeeper's positioning, and I'm going to make sure that I take something away from that. And even if you're left that situation with more questions, you're now taking more ownership of your game, and you're starting to think things out on your own, and you're starting to think, how could I take that and apply it to my own game? Or I also noticed when I did my 3 times 10-minute non-dominant foot striking before or after training, I noticed that on the 3rd day, it was not as great as I had hoped. So I'm going to do it for another week or whatever it might be. But you'll have takeaways from that specific deliberate intention that's going to ultimately help you grow. And I think what a lot of people are wanting more of is confidence, and it's going to help you be a bit more confident, whether it's in the game or confident to try things within the team setting and training.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this before as well, because, guys, me and Jill are just always talking. But there's trust. There's trust in knowing that I put the work in. Like, I can have faith in myself, and I think that's where confidence is developed, by knowing that I spent the time to watch games and learn from pro goalkeepers that I respect, or I took the time to work on my non-dominant foot. That way, if the ball comes back, I have confidence to do it in a game. And I think building that trust with myself and for myself is imperative to having a season that I'll look back on and feel really good about.
Yeah, I think clarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds competence. So if I'm clear in the fact that I want to work on my non-dominant foot, and then I do it, I get more confident. And the more confidence that I have, the more competence I have, because the better at something that we get, the more confidence we have. And ultimately, that will lead to more belief in ourselves, whether we do it right or whether we get it wrong in a game.
That's good. I had to write it down.
All right. Number 2, we need to differentiate our training and game mentalities. We want to differentiate our game and training mentality. So in training, I'm constantly thinking about, what are the areas I want to improve? What happened there? Oh, okay. So Tori was my defender. She put pressure on the attacker, and I came out, but it didn't work out. Because I was too aggressive, right? You're trying to understand what it is that you're seeing, and you're trying to understand how you reacted to what you saw, break it down. And you might even think, like, in training, I made that mistake. And so in training, you're trying to rework in your head how it went and what happened, and how maybe you would respond again the same way or say different. But in a game setting, you just really want to instinctively play. You want to react in a way that is just 100% instinctive. You don't want to constantly be thinking, oh, should I take sprays? Should I set back? Should I be aggressive in phase 2? Should I set back? You just want to rely on your training and your instincts in that moment. Because sometimes when we think, the ball's already past. It's like, if I have to tell my body to dive, the ball's already past me, right? We just want to react on our training and rely on our training and trust in our training that we've put that work in, and I'm going to respond however my body intuitively responds to that situation. And then after the game, we can go back and rework. Did it help me or did it hurt me? And that is kind of like a cycle of the training, right? You get back into that mindset, that training mindset of did it work for me here, or do I need to respond differently? Great, we can work that back into training. And then you get back into the game where you want to rely on the flow state of just being in the flow of the game, just being in the zone, as some people would say.
Yeah, I think that is huge. And it's something that we talk a lot about with my college goalkeepers. And I say it because I know she won't care, but like Katie, who works at TKI, we talked a lot last season about how she was in coach mode when we were in games. And a lot of times it was to her own detriment. And she was like, I just feel stuck in my decision making. And I'm like, well, because you're thinking about all the different things that you would tell yourself if you were coaching yourself. And getting her out of that headspace in the spring was a long process. And it was like just trying to be like, okay, well, training, you can do this. But in games, rely on you and your instincts. And I think shout out to her. She's putting a lot of work on like the mental side of the game to help her not do that. And it's paid off big time when it comes to games this year.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the more you know, like think about it like this, like I like analogies. So if you were going out to play golf and you only had a driver and a putter, you could play the game of golf, right? You really could. And it would be really clear which club you needed to use. Obviously, if you were 20 feet from the hole, you wouldn't use your driver. It's obviously you would use your putter, right? But what happens if you're 50 yards away? Which one would you use? You could use either one probably, but neither one would be that effective. So that's when you add more clubs into your bag. And then the more clubs you have, the more you can contemplate, should I use the 7-iron or should I use the 6-iron? And you really don't know until you have experience in which one would work best there, right? And sometimes even when we do have experience, we still choose the wrong one, and that's okay as well. But the more tools you have in your bag, yes, that's helpful because you can navigate situations in different ways, but also at the same time, now you have to be better at decision making. And that's why it's so important that you rely on your training, so long as your training reflects the game, right? It's so important that your training is representative of what the game would have, because you as the goalkeeper need to instinctively rely on your decision making. And if you're not working on that in training, then it becomes really difficult to rely on your instincts in the game. Which brings me up a few options that you guys could have to come join with us. We have a turkey burner clinic the day after Thanksgiving, and we're doing a winter camp in December with Kaylin Sheridan. So really excited. If you want to train in that representative way to help develop your instincts, please join us there. But I think that's so important that we delineate, am I in a training space right now, or am I in a game space right now? And then that kind of allows us to narrow our focus onto what's important right now.
I have a question for you. What do you think about this too? And I'm not really super certain on a lot of high school environments, but if they have a goalkeeper session, okay, and it's a time to be in that training space of like, okay, I can kind of decipher between what was right or what was wrong, or what would I change or how would I adjust it, and then they go in and they're playing small-sided, or maybe they have enough to play 11v11 at practice, would you recommend staying in that like training headspace during the time where you enter with the team, or would you recommend maybe trying to practice shifting into your game headspace? I know you can't necessarily fully tap into it because there's just nothing quite like game day. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you want experience getting into that game headspace. And so I think using an 11v11 situation, or even small sided, is the perfect time to try that. And something that I think about even in my line of work right now is the night before, even if it was training, the night before, I think about and I envision myself doing whatever it is I want to try. So I know this is so silly, but when I was playing in TST this summer, I wish I could go back and play now, because I would feel so much more prepared as a player now than I was as an actual player. But the night before, when we had TST, I was thinking about envisioning myself taking a touch on my left foot and playing with my left foot because I wanted to be brave and I wanted to try new things and I wanted to have the ability to solve pressure in both ways. And so when that moment came the next day when we were in training, it just was like natural because I had already seen myself do it. And I knew that that was something that I wanted to try and be brave with. And it just came because I had seen myself do it. I set my intention, but I still was in a game setting. My head was still organizing. I was still communicating. I was still continuing to scan, looking for where the space was. But there were also times in the game that I felt myself having to talk to myself. We're like, okay, stay focused on this, because if not, I would let my mind wander into places like, oh, well, what if I made a mistake? I would look embarrassed, right? Well, I had to intentionally bring my focus and shift my focus back to the present, which I heard you say earlier. Being in the present is communicating, organizing, scanning. And when I did that, I couldn't multitask in my head to catastrophize what could happen if I didn't pull it off on my left foot, you know? So I think that's really important sometimes, is like, you don't wait for the moment, you prepare for the moment. And then you wait for the moment, right? You've already prepared. In my head, I knew I wanted to try that. I also had been working on my left foot before TST, like in our training sessions and stuff. I prepared for the moment, and then I waited for the moment to occur. And I felt that my preparation prepared me to be my best. So long answer, yes, get into game mode. And there are certain times, obviously, when your coach is there, that you could be like, hey, I just need more information in that specific situation before I forget what happened. So obviously there's some give and take, but I want to be in the zone as much as possible.
Yeah, that's
That
good.
was
And you
a
know
long-
what else it does for us? Segues us perfectly into point number 3, baby. Let's go.
Oh, this is my favorite thing. There are a little bit of things that make me happier than when I get a free coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin'. So when I've spent all my monies on coffee, eventually I get a free one and I love it. I'm like, oh yes, I can't wait to use my free coffee on the boardwalk, because on the boardwalk, they're like $8 instead of $4. But the point is to use your bravery reward points. So whenever I spend money, I get money back, right, in my coffee app. And the more you try and use your bravery, the more bravery you get to try to do bigger and more difficult tasks. So, for example, if you're brave in training and you try to take that touch onto your left foot, the more you do that, the more comfortable you feel. And the more you're like, oh my gosh, like that, just employing that little bit of bravery made me feel so much comfortable and so much more confident. I wonder what else I could do. And so then you're like, wow, I was brave and it worked out. Or I was brave and I had to continue to try and hone my skills and put more effort toward that and be deliberate about working on my non-dominant foot. But eventually you get better at it. And then you're like, well, I used the bravery to do that. So like, what else could I do? I can say my dreams out loud of what they could be, or I could try to go after that school that everyone thinks is outside of my comfort zone, or I could spread eventually if I put enough of bravery into something new that's difficult and maybe that everyone doesn't understand. But the more you use that bravery, the more you get, and the more you get, the more you can try to do more difficult tasks that might seem out of the realm of possibility for you.
I got nothing to add to that. I think that's great. Like I said, I'm taking notes over here. I'm like, ooh, yeah, bravery reward points.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, who doesn't love a free coffee?
First and foremost, everyone loves a free coffee. Everyone loves anything that's free. You don't even need to want it. It's just free, so it's nice.
Correct.
But yeah, bravery is huge, and I think that anytime you're learning to do something new, the first time you try it, it's going to feel so terrifying, but just the fact, whether it pans out or not, just the fact that you had the courage to do it just banks those points. And I think that sometimes the feeling that you have in high school season can be really isolating as a goalkeeper, because a lot of times you don't have a goalkeeper coach, and it's not to knock the schools. It's just they probably don't have the funds to supply also a goalkeeper coach, or whatever the reason may be. But I think that a lot of times it can be a lonely position. So kind of finding those moments to invest in myself and finding those moments to be brave is going to be your biggest confidence builder and continue to build that trust that we talked about with point number 1.
I also just want to take a second to recognize too, is like, I think doing this kind of work is way harder than going into the gym and working on your arm muscles, your leg muscles, your core, right? If you do that, you see a almost week to week improvement, right? Last week I did 4 reps of 5, and this week, wow, I increased my weight and I'm doing 4 reps of 6 or whatever. That feels good. And maybe you're like, wow, everyone is like, maybe recognizing how the strength and conditioning is changing my body, and that feels good, right? But if I said to you, Tori, would you rather have nice biceps, or would you rather have a stronger heart and a stronger mind to put to training? I think you would say stronger heart and stronger mind, right? However, no one can see that. Right. No one can see that work. Only you can see that work. And so it is the most important work, and no one is going to recognize that for you. You are the only person that is going to be able to recognize, wow, I am so proud of myself. That was so hard. That was something I worked on. And ultimately, that's how I would want to set myself up for success, right? I don't want to wait for other people to say, wow, Jill, you're really working hard. You looked good in that. I want to rely on myself to give myself that. Yeah, it feels good if you were like, hey, Jill, that was really brave that you did that. But like, I want to fuel my own self-worth because that's reliable. I can bank on that. If I am putting in the work, I can also give myself the credit that I deserve. It's like, wow, you are doing every single thing you can. You are being brave. You are being resilient. You are being strong. You are recovering really well from mistakes. And that's something that I think over time is more fulfilling than waiting for other people to tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the hard work. And the funny thing about it is like when people want to get stronger, they know I got to go in the gym. But when people want to get, mentally stronger or just like change something in terms of like their self-talk or mentality, I think it's twofold. One, the work is scary. Mm-hmm. And 2, they don't know what to do. Like, I go into the gym to get stronger. Might not know all the exercises, but I can probably look it up. It's a lot harder to be like, okay, I need to be, nicer to myself and figure out my self-talk during training so that I can be present and get the most out of it. It's a lot harder to look that up and know what to do. So I think that it's just being intentional about it and maybe even finding someone who can help you with that side of it.
For sure. And just a plug that Chris is going to be doing Bulletproof again, which is a 4-week course. It's an hour long for 4 weeks in November and December. It's incredible. And Chris is the best resource that we have at TKI because I think the mental side is the most important aspect of goalkeeping. And all of you guys listening, you've been there, you've been alone before, you feel like you've let down other people, you feel like you've let down yourself. And having some tools to be able to manage pressure and mistakes, I think is probably one of the most important aspects of what we do. Absolutely. All right, it's that time. Question of the day. I got a simple one for you.
Oh, good.
Favorite color Gatorade?
Oh, the light blue, Glacier Freeze.
Oh, light blue. Yeah.
How about you?
It's a tie. I like the dark blue or lemon lime. OG lemon lime. As a kid, I always had a red mustache though. I was into fruit punch. Yeah, and to me now that's just, but it's disgusting now.
The fruit punch does hit though. Like I can't tell you that I don't grab it sometimes.
I guess if it was the only one. Yeah. But purple should just be eliminated from life.
I see. There we disagree. I like that light purple.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, I really like it. But they have a cucumber one now, and I think that can go.
That's true. I agree. That belongs in the spa.
I still like the idea of it, which is not right. It's not right to feel that way.
That's for the spa.
That is for the spa. Little cucumber over my eyes and in my glass of water.
Exactly.
All right. Are you ready for my question?
I am.
All right. Who from TKI do you pick for your 3v3 team? Like, we're playing 3v3 because,
with no goalkeepers?
You have to pick our staff members.
Oh, can it be a player from TKI too?
Has she worked at camp?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. You have to take Kaylin Sheridan off the table.
Fair.
Okay.
Super fair.
Because if not, then that would be both our answers and it would be boring.
Yeah.
I'm taking Mackenzie Gress.
Okay.
I know that's a little bit of a different answer, but her left foot is incredible. We need some balance within our team. She provides a little bit of the edge, a little bit of the grit, That's who I'm picking. Sometimes in 3v3, that's what you need. A little bit more of that.
That is true. My answer, Caroline Delisle. I've seen her lay her body out.
That's true.
Like as a defender, like I'm pretty sure she used her gut last summer to
That's
save
true.
the ball.
That's true. That's a good shout. Or Maddie Prohaska, or was it Megan? I can't remember which one this summer, but Hit That B was electric. It was just like
it was Maddie. Maddie's team didn't lose.
Yeah.
Any team Maddie was on won every time.
Not many people can say that.
Yeah, even when she was coaching summer camps, her teams won. So
it's the competitive nature within her.
It is.
She willed her team to win.
She's a dog, baby.
Yeah, she is a dog. All right, you guys. Well, if you have any other questions, please reach out. We say this every time, and we really want to help whatever it is that you're facing. So please reach out, send us your film, jump on an office hour call with me. I'm trying to help support people, just anybody who needs it across the world. So if not, we'll catch you later.
Catch you later.